bum, bum. Yeah. Can I? Because I also want to record. So can we?
Yeah. Just
Let me just do it like a test. Can you say something? I want to hear if I can hear.
Yo. Hello.
Very good.
Hello.
All good. Let me see my video folder. Okay, so that worked. All right, so then we can. So
Yeah.
the way, well, I guess maybe you should let me know how you run this. Yeah.
So most of the people I've coached before didn't have a lot of experience with decks and Legacy, So we just went over the deck list here. I think that's kind of unnecessary. You have ways you like to play deck. I have ways I like to play the deck. I know we necessarily don't really agree, but that's not what it's about this time, of course. So I think we should just look at the deck and see if there's anything you were unsatisfied with real quick. If there wasn't, then go to matches and just talk through the things you want to talk through.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen real quick?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Right.
You see my screen now?
Yep. Everything looks good.
Alright, so let me start recording on the deck tech then.
Yeah.
So, alright, so this is what I played. And I tested quite a lot. And there are some thoughts behind these. So the first kind of theory that I had was that I felt that Ursa Saga was good enough to beat all fair decks. Meaning like Death and Taxes, Green-White Depths, all these type of decks. I felt I could just win with Ursa Saga, so I didn't need any help. So I cut all Valakut Exploration, Sylvan Library, all kind of grindy cards. And instead I wanted to be better against the unfair decks. And there I said that, okay, the unfair decks that are most popular are Doomsday and Reanimate. Those are the ones I wanted to be better against, so therefore I played Elvish Reclaimer and Endurance main.
Yeah.
Because
that definitely makes sense. I also came to somewhere. I actually did register red green as well. My matchups were really, really bad. I played against all basics for Brazen Borrower Stoneblade in round one, and and then round two I just died to oops in 2 games in a row. So I didn't even really have a chance to play, but I actually came to similar conclusions. I don't really like main creatures, but I can understand why you would if you want to hard target the combo decks. So that all sounds very reasonable to me.
And regarding that blue-white, so this Jeskai Hullbreacher deck, so that's because of that deck, I wanted to play Richard and Port again.
Yeah, agreed.
And Choke. As well.
I didn't get that far. I also found that their deck is super soft to staged Saga. I have a screenshot of just having 2 staged Sagas. They Hull Breacher wheeled me twice, and they still eventually lost, which is kind of insane if you think about it. But it's kind of just their deck doesn't have their deck has maybe 1 Supreme Verdict in it. Once you run that out, they're just not going to beat 2 constructs per turn,
Yeah, I see that. I never actually resolved Choke when I tested against them. I think I just won with Spear Ports and Saga.
Sure.
And another thing is, so maybe Choke is not needed.
Right.
But then another thing that I noticed, at least when I played leagues, a lot of these Jeskai players, they're not used to porting all their white sources and making Merit Ledge.
Exactly. I remember. I mean, I like to play 4 depths, and I played a bunch of ports. I played 3 map as well, but I'm not sure that's necessary. I just had the 3 P Fire, 3 map, 3 port setup that I'm sure you've seen floating about.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty effective way to do it. Boseiju sort of overlaps. Boseiju is really good. Obviously, you can play 1 or 2. I don't think you really want more than 2.
No.
But Yeah, was there anything you were unhappy with this deck? I guess is the question.
Yeah, so a couple of hmm, yeah. So first, I think Elvish Reclaimer might be. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I always end up cutting this card, even though it's kind of impresses on me every time I play with it. But I think it was better when Delver played Ragavan
Yep,
because
definitely.
now
Yeah.
all their stuff flies,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fast enough against Doomsday.
Yep.
It's really good against Reanimate if you can stop their first thing.
Sure.
Uh, but it's also extremely good against the Madness deck that I did play against.
Sure.
But I think maybe if I were to do, I would probably play 3 Endurance, cut the Reclaimer, and play 3 Dark Depths.
That sounds
Probably.
yeah. I think that sounds pretty reasonable. How was Shadow Spear for you?
Well, um, let's take a look. I think it's probably good against Delver, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it used to be really good against 8 cost. I felt because you could attack through Psy. I don't know now when they're faster
Mm-hmm.
if it's still good. I mean, I haven't played against that deck actually that much
Yeah.
since they got Kappa Cannoneer, but
Yeah. I actually had a few thoughts about specifically that and Death and Taxes to a lesser degree. Um, I think a card that you might want to consider in the future is Tower of the Magistrate. Be
yeah,
sure.
I thought of that.
And the other reason that card is good is it unequips a Batter Skull or a Culture Complete, which I think you can actually lose to Culture Complete sometimes from Death and Taxes, but that's like one of the few ways you can lose to them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess Shadow Spear also destroys it, right? Kind of, because you can make it lose
Yeah, I
indestructible.
mean, it's really like kind of mana hungry, and they have to walk into it essentially. It's not like whereas like Tower does what it says on the tin. You can just like make them unequip it and kind of nice. And it's also land, which is easier to find in your deck than I think the Shadow Spear on average, generally
Mm.
speaking. So I think for those reasons, I'm gonna look at that card going forward. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think that could be really good as a instead of. I mean, if I played like Valakut with no Ursa Saga, I would definitely play Tower then.
yeah, of course.
Uh,
But I think
but
Valakut Exploration has aged really poorly, so I have no interest in the card anymore
yeah,
personally.
it's too expensive. I
Yeah,
think.
that's the issue. Yeah, because when I first played the deck in like 2015, the deck was like really low curve. It didn't even really have 3 drops in the sideboard. Like there were just a bunch of
Mm.
gambles in the deck, so the deck was like extremely efficient. It's just
Yeah.
that power creep sort of forced you into a position where you had to play a small amount of expensive stuff nowadays is how I would put it.
Mm. But yeah, I think it's all. Yeah, I haven't played Valakut Exploration in a really long time. I okay, but I think that was I think in general Lance is really well positioned when we can play say 3 endurance main and still
Yeah,
beat Death and Texas. Then then you know we and if you don't even play choke, you can play like Mindbreak Trap or something, and you would have been good against most combo decks then I think.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Um, So yeah, I think that's all super reasonable, and sounds like you're mostly happy with the choices. Just a few cards you'll change here and there for next
Yeah,
time. You know.
yeah. Okay, but let me cut this off and we can go to the first. So should we just play the first game or? Uh,
We should really just cover it. Actually, what I think should happen is you should cover the ones that you think are um you felt less comfortable in. Is how I would put it.
yeah,
Because to maximize the time usage, just looking at the
yeah,
ones that you're less happy about, I think makes more sense, right?
yeah. Let's do that then. So, uh, because I need to turn off the boom. All right, so let's boom here. Okay, so I can tell you what I played against. So I played my match. I played 8 rounds. So I started with Doomsday, then Delver, Madness, some kind of Urion control deck, Moonstompy, Depth, and Delver. I started, yeah, so let's look at the first one, which I lost against Doomsday. And this was kind of a little bit tilting because I ended up making a mistake, I think. So do you see my screen now?
Yeah, I do. Everything's good.
Okay. So I have Googled this opponent, so I know that they play Doomsday.
Okay. So, yeah.
And then I mulligan the first hand, and I keep this one because I feel, well, I'm on the draw, but I feel I have, what is this, a turn? Is this a turn 2, isn't it? I think it is a turn 2.
Well, is it? Oh, yeah. No, wait. Well, suppose you play Yavimaya Mox Pitch. Oh, I guess you don't even... I don't think it's a turn 2. I don't think you literally have enough... Okay, well let's see what happens.
Yeah, because you can tap Dark Depths.
Yeah.
So you can tap Dark Depths.
No, you're right. Yeah, you just float, then you rotate away your Yavimaya for its stage. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, maybe turn 2 is the best I can do, because, I only have 2 endurances, so kind of hoping to draw one.
Sure.
On a multi-5, it's probably not going to win against Doomsday. So that was my...
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense because, like, I mean, I think you have more success just trying to kill them than trying to, like, kill all of their lands, because, like, they can kill you from a very low mana base, to be fair. So
yeah.
I don't...
Then I drew a card there because I wanted to draw endurance, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think you just cycle your spell bomb. Like, the 2 damage is not going to matter.
No. And then here I feel, okay, I can't beat Daze, I can't beat Force of Will. Yeah, because they cast Doomsday as well. And then I say, okay, I can't beat Daze or Force of Will, but I have to go for it, but then they just kill me.
Yeah, I mean, that it sucks, but that's what we signed up for sometimes. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
but this is like, if I had like Hypno Rivulet,
yeah,
I could have won this game. And this is why that card is... I wish that was green.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't make... The green one pumps a creature from that cycle.
Yeah.
The red one got banned in Standard. I'm sure you remember Ramunat Ruins.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they can't really make the Hypno Rivulet green, unfortunately. Obviously, it would be much better for us if it could.
Yeah. It's like the only reason I want to be blue. It's Hypno Rivulet. But it's just that's so hard to fit, because you also want blue mana to use it, so I think we just have to be... Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think I did anything wrong here.
I mean, you have no choices really. Like, by this point, like, everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Interestingly, because of the LED like thing that they did, I guess they have one card. They actually would have lost to Endurance the way they played it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But maybe they just assume you don't have Endurance in your main deck, and they just wanted to, like, they didn't want to give you time to try to kill them as well. So
yeah,
it's probably correct for them to do what they did. All of the defense cards are bad, essentially.
Yeah, so I'm not sure surgical is even something to bring in.
I think it's
fine. Like a Hail Mary.
I think it's fine. It's not like it shouldn't be your primary plan, but it's something that, works. I think I'd rather set up Blast Zone, actually.
The 2.
Yeah, I think trying to loam Wasteland's probably better than Blast Zone on average.
Well, yeah, but how many lands? I mean, do you want to go down below 30 lands though?
Well,
And you,
I also don't think Eldritch Proclaimer does much versus them.
yeah, that one I could see
So
cutting,
like
especially when we don't play Hypno.
yeah, well, so I would probably just cut the Proclaimers for the loam and call it a day. You could also maybe justify, and it didn't look like you considered this. You could try to the sphere choke port setup versus them.
Yeah, I did consider bringing choke in,
I just have a feeling Proclaimer doesn't do anything most of the time versus them.
yeah. I think it's yeah. I agree. If you don't play Hypno Rivulet, maybe it doesn't do enough. So then I don't keep this hand because it does nothing.
Yeah, this hand's bad. Like that's a trap hand. This hand's
I keep this hand, I think.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I end up keeping this.
Well, you have the Thran Foundry, which I think actually makes the hand a lot better than it looks. If you didn't have Thran Foundry in your deck, I think this hand might be not like it would be keepable but not great. That's how I would put it.
But would you lead on exploration or?
I thought about this. What you should actually do before this decision is you should check how many green cards are actually in your deck and think about it, because I think there is actually a strong incentive to play the exploration if you believe the probability that you'll draw another green card is high enough. I didn't count how many green cards you actually have left. You can probably rewind a little bit and just count and just figure it out.
I don't think it is that many, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so there's an endurance and an exploration removed from that pile of cards. So the cards remaining are the green cards. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is 14. So I would not play out the exploration. That's just way too low.
No.
Like you're
and
at like... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That's kind of my problem with having 4 endurances as well, is that but I guess I guess you do increase your green count. But this is I used to cut like all loans against like reanimated stuff, but now I don't. I keep them in just to get some green count up.
Yeah, actually thinking about this, I would have tried to get like extra green cards in.
Yeah, maybe choke.
Probably cutting like Pithing Needle, just try to shave the like. I don't know. It's hard because we have all the good cards in, and we probably do want to keep the Reclaimer just for green count, and it's like not that bad. Yeah. It's just not great. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. I think because of the number of green cards you actually have, you're not allowed to cast out an exploration. You're only like 25% draw another green card by the next turn.
Yeah. But I guess you can draw a green source also.
Yeah, but that's like more vulnerable to like, days or whatever.
I started with Saga because I wanted Crown Foundry.
Yeah, no,
as quick as I could.
I think once you realize you can't play Exploration, you should just play Saga on 1 and just sacrifice, the constructs, because this is not an attrition matchup. This is like a try to lock them out completely matchup. Because like I think like if you try to like nickel and dime them with constructs, that almost never works fast enough.
Yeah, I agree. But it is annoying that it's one of these. I have so many cards against it, and I still end up losing to it.
Yeah, but that's kind of the issue. I've had this issue come a lot in my career where you have a bad game 1 matchup, like, and then in order to get even, you have to get to like 65% in a post board game to like be even in the matchup overall. That's like that's kind of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
And Thoughtseize, well, obviously they're going to take 1 card and leave the other one.
Yeah. So luckily the Thoughtseize doesn't matter now because they can't kill me this turn.
They could. It just would involve having a very good hand.
Yeah.
Like they could have Petal, Doomsday, Petal, Brainstorm kill you. I think would technically work out, but that's just so many cards to have behind this. And they did go to 6 cards, so like I think there's a good chance you don't die this turn,
They don't even take endurance, They take exploration, which I don't understand. But that I don't understand either because
I think that's crazy. Okay, so now we have an interesting decision, which is we're definitely getting Ground Foundry. B,
Yeah.
do we waste plus loam? I guess is the real question.
No, you can also Saga, right? I think I put Saga in because I wanted some pressure as well. Because the way I lost with Tron Foundry is when they have 2 Thassa's Oracle.
Sure. Yep.
So then they play the first one. I use Tron Foundry, and then the next turn they play the second one, and they have 4 Devotion.
Yep. And they have exactly 4 cards or so left in the deck. The thing I actually just thought about, we shouldn't really cast a loam this turn anyways, so playing Saga does make sense, I think.
Yeah, or Wasteland. Wasteland also could make it, but I think I did Saga, yeah, because I wanted to have a... Yeah, because those constructs will be quite big, because we have Tron Foundry as well.
Yep, yeah.
So they will have to block with the first Thassa's Oracle if it...
if it gets to that. I mean...
Yeah. I think now I'm in a good spot here, because...
Yeah. I think so too. And I think probably, personally, depending on what the board state looks like by the time Saga pops off, I might just get a Mox Diamond with this Saga, actually. But it depends a lot on what the board state looks like by that point.
Yeah, I think so, because you need the mana to pop... Yes, I think that makes sense. And I don't think I have many other cards. I have Pithing Needle. You can get Pithing Needle and name... what's it called?
Street Wraith.
Yeah, Street Wraith or the other one.
Edge of Autumn.
Edge of Autumn,
but the thing is, I think it's actually better to name Wraith in this setup, because you don't... Like, the Edge of Autumn actually costs a fair amount of resources to use, whereas if they draw a Wraith, they can just use it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But they will be quite low on life when we attack.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so, I think he ends up thinking for a long time. Maybe we should just... I think they cast... Oh, they cast Doomsday here.
They cast Doomsday into your Thran Foundry, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and Endurance. They know I have Endurance as well.
So, I mean, yeah.
I do Wasteland, so I can waste an sea here.
Yep.
To fill their yard if I have to. Now...
This is really interesting, because, like, they made a pile that has to pass.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think maybe they have bounce. Maybe they...
I mean, if they bounce
I don't remember.
If they bounce a construct, do you even care? Like...
But they can bounce Tron Foundry, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Doesn't seem that relevant to me.
Yeah, I did end up finding Pithing Needle, I think.
Well, now the board looks different. I think you're supposed to needle one of the... You can actually just check their exile, right? To see what they put in.
Yeah, I think I did that. I think they put... Do you see... I don't see Edge of Autumn.
I see one Street Wraith in exile. And they usually play 2.
Google their list.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 Edge of Autumn they have, and yeah. So I did do the homework here when I played it.
Yep.
Then I think I ended up saying Street Wraith or... See. Yeah, because I definitely think we should get Needle here to do something.
I agree.
And then...
but by this point, the board state looks different. You don't actually need to, like, kill them. You just have to make sure you don't die, and this one construct or another construct, or even, like, wastelanding them a bunch of times will win the game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, given what you saw, I would actually probably name Edge of Autumn.
Yeah.
It's also possible that Street is in their hand as well.
I named Edge of Autumn, yeah, that makes sense.
The other reason to name Edge is then your wastelands don't get, like, countered by Edge of Autumn, essentially, right?
Oh, interesting. I didn't make a token. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Oh,
I didn't make a token, yeah, because I wanted Wasteland, yeah, no. Because I wanted to have Wasteland and Bear on Days with my Endurance. I think I was super conservative here, because I thought he would just die.
I think wasting them is not very good to do. Chain of Vapor. Oh, I see. This was their plan. Okay.
So now I think what I did, I wastelanded and used this. I think. Maybe I didn't
To
actually.
just add 2 cards. So if the bottom card is Thassa's Oracle, okay, I guess this this makes sense actually. Yeah. Because if you don't do this, there's too much of a danger that you get killed
If
next
he just
turn.
has a force of will, yeah. Because I felt that I would get another token, so this would become a 3/3. Yeah, now he. So now he's dead to my next attack.
Yeah.
And I still have endurance. I mean, it's not perfect.
Well,
Yeah, I won.
so I suspect what happened was there was at least one edge of item in the pile. So by needling edge, you also made it harder to get through the entire pile, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I think I played okay there, but it's just that you need so many things to even win. Even when you, it's like, it's not even, and you still need to get a bit lucky. Okay, so then third game, I keep this hand. I think, well, it's the same.
Yeah.
Same thing. I have Saga, I have Endurance. I mean, I don't think I can get a better hand. I can, of course. Mox, Saga, Spear. That is kind of the perfect hand.
I think I would describe it the same way. I would reluctantly keep this hand and probably just play Saga on 1.
Yeah.
Basically do the same thing you did in game 2 and try to like just make it awkward for them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I did, you know. So I think I played out Saga, yeah. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Even that
I don't
could have
think
played the elf, but
I don't think playing the elf does anything. Like I think you just end up with a very like you end up with a card that can tutor a land like maybe once before you die, but like that doesn't really help, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be one of these things. Yeah, I mean if they have a cantrip here, they'll just try to kill you, and you're not repping blast or anything. So the only thing that you have to play around is endurance, and that's easy enough for them to do, I think, right?
Yeah, but I think so in my head now, I'm feeling okay. I need to bait force of will with my crop rotation. This is what goes around in my head. So I need to play out Boseiju so that I can crop in response to Oracle, and make them counter it to hope that I would get like a Pyroblast or a red source for Pyroblast, and then I could use Endurance. I keep up with these.
Oh, hold on. Let's unpack that statement. I don't think that makes any sense to think of it that way. Because why would they ever force the rotation? They would just wait for the Pyroblast and force that.
I know. Yeah, I was just thinking.
So what you have to do in those situations is think about it from their perspective. They're never forcing that crop rotation, so it doesn't actually make sense. That's kind of a wishful thinking, I think, sort of thought in your head, because if you play from their side, just put yourselves in their feet. Why, like, you look at the board? Why would they ever force crop rotation? Not that none of those cards actually matter. You know.
No, I agree. I think it is wishful thinking. And what's annoying is that it kind of missed. I missed like a potentially winning line because I could have cropped. I'll show you later. I could have cropped for a port because they fetched basics, so they actually don't have that many blue sources. So yeah, let me. Okay, so they do the same thing, and then they don't kill me.
Okay, so they resolve Doomsday, but it's a pass by.
Yeah.
Oh, and you draw Mox. I see.
Yeah, Mox. And then I even said, okay, maybe I shouldn't play it so that I can make the crop rotation play. And then I end up playing Mox Diamond anyway to play around days, I think. But then even now, if I have Mox Diamond, now the crop rotation could be a force actually, because I could get Hypno Rivulet.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense. And you could also just get port off of your rotated Boseiju away, right?
Yeah, I mean, so even, but my problem here is that, and this is something I do a lot. I have kind of one plan, and then something happens. I draw the Mox Diamond, so my plan should change, but I don't see that. I just I still go on trying to fake that I have mana issues, but I didn't even do that. But it did, yeah. So I end up like the right play here. I think is to crop in their upkeep, right?
I agree. You should rotate your Boseiju away for Rashadan port and just port their island and hope to get to Thuran Foundry on your turn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But I don't.
Well, I think let's pause for a sec. I think the way you should get around stuff like that is to literally say out loud, "Okay, what has changed? What can I do now?" Just say it out loud, because I think this is a common technique for teaching kids or whatever. If you make them say it or write it down, it actually triggers something into their brain that they have to think about it more. So I think if you literally had just said it out loud or written it down, maybe you would have refigured out what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and I have time. I have like 18 minutes on the clock, and this is a high-profile game, so I should definitely take that time, because this is. Yeah, I actually got annoyed at myself for that, because. Yeah, so then I passed it to their main phase. Then they cast. I think they cast Thassa's Oracle. Yeah, and then I crop rotate, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
So then I tried to make my genius bait, which doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I lose. But actually, just porting their island there, I would have found then the Foundry, and it would have been another game, I think.
Yeah,
Essentially.
So even if you have you reveal it in your deck by this point, what does it actually do?
Sorry, what?
If you have to reveal it in your deck at this point, what does it do on this port state?
Oh, here it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so that's why they'll never force the crop rotation, right?
No, yeah.
So I think it's a little bit. I think your issue is you just have to say it out loud or write it down. Probably saying it out loud is more effective, personally.
Yeah. Then I waste and I cast this thing.
You're probably dead to a force, but that's how it is.
Yeah, and I died. Yeah. So I died. But actually, so even this game I could potentially have won. I mean, at least if I had played this better, at least I would have had a Tron Foundry.
Yep.
And a construct and an endurance. So I think, that was definitely an interesting game. And I think what happened here is I did end up tilting a little bit. So because I got annoyed with myself, because I felt like I looked at the replay and I saw that port line and I said, okay, maybe I could have done something differently there. But then I play against Delver, and I think this one we can look at that one as well, because that was also interesting. So I think I played pretty well first. Let me just first game, but then really bad the second game. So let me just round 2 against Delver. Bjarne Arne. This is a Swedish guy. I think I know he would be on Delver.
I see. I don't know who this is, obviously, but
So I kept this hand. I think this hand is good against Delver. I have
I would keep that hand basically versus everyone. Actually, I think blind. Obviously if I know him against a combo deck, I'm probably not keeping this hand. But besides that, it's a pretty good hand.
Then the question is, if I play out Reclaimer turn 1. Well, there are many things. So should I bait the days with the Mox? I guess that's one decision.
I'm going to just give a general rule, and you might disagree with this. I think you should basically almost never do that because it just gives them an option where they don't really have one otherwise, unless you have specifically the Tabernacle in your hand, which you don't. Because like otherwise, like
Yeah.
the only reason for them to daze it is they think they have to get lucky to win, and you're giving them an option to get lucky to win, right?
Hmm.
So I think it's just
Okay.
basically like usually incorrect to give them that option.
But if you don't daze it, can you then lead on Saga? If you don't bait the daze, do you still lead on Saga?
Uh, let's see. Yeah, I would, and if they waste it, that's fine. Like we have another Saga. It's a little bit clunky and slow, but since you do have Shadow Speed in your deck, you can get those life points back. I'm not really concerned about that. And if they just go like waste, play no second creature, have an island plate, that's not that threatening, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess if I mean the worst thing is if they force the Mox Diamond, but I guess
Well, yeah,
they do that.
it's a little bit bad to you that if that happens, but at least if how do I put it? If they force the Mox, they're down 2 cards, they're down to 3 cards. You'll end up with
Yeah.
Saga and nothing versus their Delver, which may or may not flip.
Mm.
Then you'll eventually use the Saga to go get a Mox to get the mana back
Yeah,
because you have enough
yeah,
lands
yeah, yeah.
again. So I think it's fine to do that personally.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I wonder what I did. I probably baited the days. I thought about this for a long time. I thought it was quite hard. Maybe. But I think, yeah, the right play is Saga, then Mox. Then probably Elf. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I would just play the Elf out. The issue with not playing the Elf out is, yeah, it sucks that it'll die to Bolt, but it's actually hard for you to make it Bolt proof with this hand, right?
Yeah, with his hand as well, because if he had Volcanic, I could just wasted Mox
Yeah.
and it would almost be there.
Yeah, so I don't think you can have a bulletproof elf for quite a while, and then like you
Yeah.
might just draw a bunch of green cards, and then your green man's taxed. Like I think it's a pretty big mistake not to play the elf out.
Mm. I baited days there. Interesting. But I think I do that play quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, I basically never do it because like I think generally you win more on average by respecting your opponents than by like trying to get them to do something like weird.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if I had the Tabernacle there, I would play the Mox first because the value over replacement of just killing the first creature for free is so high. Like it like you actually just win the game on the spot. I think if they daze that and you have tab.
Yeah, especially when I have Yavimaya as well, because then the Tabernacle.
Exactly. But that was not the scenario we were in. So okay.
Yes, I agree.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
okay.
So now this elf is really good now, right? Because I can find
Yeah, I
Tabernacle
mean,
and Wasteland.
yeah, I think you know how I was saying Tab wins the game on the spot? I think it's going to win the game on the spot in a different way.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
I think that was a bit aggressive from them, maybe.
I think they shouldn't play out the third Delver, actually, probably.
Yeah. Okay, now I play Into Days again, but I guess in this case...
No, I mean, if they daze you here, they're actually dead. So, I mean, they're mostly dead now anyways, so...
Yeah.
Also, okay, no, actually, wait, no? Your opponent... I guess it doesn't actually matter. But you should stack most of the reveals before the destroys. Instead, the order got kind of weird. I don't know. But yeah, your opponent's basically dead now. Like you can't really recover when you're at 20 life. They have 1 land, 1 creature. It's like it's basically irrecoverable for them. I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it ended up being nice. I wonder if yeah, you could name Wasteland.
Yeah, I would
100%. Did.
I would 100% name Wasteland here.
Yeah, I think that's what I did as well because.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you don't need anything else to win besides the Urza Saga. So if you just name Wasteland to cut off Saga, you win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was kind of an interesting game because it's not. I actually quite often that I do name Wasteland against them.
Yeah, I think that's actually often correct because you can also wage them freely if you name Wasteland. Like you can just wait.
Yeah, and also Maze gets
Yeah,
insane again.
exactly. Yep.
So this doesn't flip. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure keeping that 1/1 around does very much for them, but it also kind of looks like they only have lands. If I had
Yeah,
to
I think.
guess, like their hand's probably like a land and like a Force of Will or something, you know?
Yeah. And I was drawing pretty good as well. So
Yeah, I mean, this game seems super academic. Like it's not actually a very interesting game by this point. I think your opponent's like
at this point, yeah.
yeah, like now your opponent's pretty much dead. Like they would need like they would need a lot of removal spells, is how I would put it.
Yeah, I wonder if this was the one, but there was one opponent that had like 2 unholy heat. And he managed to kill my super big Ursa Saga tokens, but I wonder if this was no, it was not this one because he doesn't have
Mhm.
he doesn't have 4 card types in graveyard. So I think this game is again maybe fast forward a bit because the second one gets a bit more interesting. So let's here, okay, boom, boom, boom. I think I drag it out a little bit, but he's basically dead. He died to the tabernacle, I think.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he even cropped it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't really do much. Like they have one creature, you're not gonna waste them out because you have a needle on Wasteland. You can get Shadow Spear, and then like now they're like, yeah, it's basically impossible.
Yeah. Okay, so then we go to game 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually take out 2 Ursa Saga against them. I don't know how you because they have meltdown.
I think that's reasonable. I was actually looking for ways to be less exposed to meltdown in post-board games.
Yeah.
Versus them, because like that is one of the ways you can lose. In a lot of the versions I had, I actually didn't even have space for 3 or for all 4 endurance, but I think that's because I wasn't siding out Saga. But if you want to side out Saga, then you obviously do get enough space.
Yeah. So I think just an endurance and Shadow Spear is pretty good.
Yeah, that
like,
is.
You don't really need.
That is good. Versus them, I will not lie. Like Shadow Spear, if I were to play it, would be good in this matchup, and versus like Death and Taxes sometimes, and versus 8 casts a reasonable amount of the time as well. Kind of surprised you cited out 2 crop rotations, but
yeah. I mean, so there are a couple of things. So I usually don't, but I had so many endurances, so I kind of had to, and I also had the elf. I had 4 effects of that. But I don't like to side out crop rotation because they're so good against Wasteland.
Exactly, yeah. I think maybe you have too many 3-drops in your deck. If I had to guess,
Yeah,
like
that,
it's just the 3-drop issue again. Like, you know.
No, I can see that. Yeah, but maybe as choke shouldn't be played actually. But that's I think. And another thing is that I saw some Delver list play like 2 Brace and Borrower and 2 Submerge. There was one that went in this Mana Trader event. I think maybe the winner or the second place. And they had so many answers to Merit Ledge. I was kind of trying to play conservative. That's also why I only played 2 Depths. One of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of my plan post sideboard was just to choke them.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure. I don't think that's stock or anything. I think they still don't really have that many answers to.
Oh, I'll give you a hint. If I was playing Blue Red Delver, I would actually have 2 Brazen Borrower plus 2 Submerge in my 75. The way I constructed my last Blue Red Delver deck for IRL team event, I had a Brazen Borrower in my main, a Brazen Borrower in my sideboard, and 2 Submerge in my sideboard.
Yeah, so then Merit Lage is super risky post sideboard then.
Well, yeah, sort of. I mean, like Brazen Bar is just like pretty good in the matchup, I think, generally speaking. So
Yeah.
like bouncing a Mox is super annoying. Bouncing a Construct at a key time is super annoying.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of think Bog is not that good for some, generally speaking. But
Yeah, I used to side it out, but then those trees, Dragon Raid Channeler, that
sure.
is super annoying. But I mean, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe Bog is a bit like it's not like you would crop rotate for Bog.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. And the other thing is, like, I think it's kind of nonsensical to side out Rashad and Port if you're siding in choke versus them. I don't think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
this is
yeah.
not a this is not this is not a coherent plan, is how I would put it. Like in my mind, if you want to have choke in your deck versus them, which I might actually question, that might be the card
Yeah.
I would have crop rotation in over. If you want to have choke
Hmm.
in, you should just have the third port in over the bog, I think.
Yeah. And okay, so in this game, so my problem with this game is I didn't really have a plan at all. And I was just playing on intuition. Didn't really think. Yeah, we can
So
keep this, of course.
yeah, this hand doesn't can almost never win.
Do anything. No. Well, I guess choke could technically win, but this hand I think is fine.
Yeah, it's
It's a bit
good.
weak to meltdown,
Yeah, it is.
but yeah,
I think you probably just have to take the loss to meltdown with this hand, and that's fine. You know.
yeah. They don't even have a one drop, which is super rare. So
So I don't know if you
nice.
noticed this. Your opponent played that really weird. What what I would have normally done with a hand like that is just bobble
Yeah.
myself and see if my top card's good. If it's good, I just don't even cast the ponder.
Hmm.
Like you looking at your top card at random just tells you 1/7 of your hand, whereas your opponent knows their hand and knows what they're looking for. I think just
Yeah.
bobbling yourself is so much better. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I think. And I I like to point these things out because if you learn your opponent's deck too, you can play better against it. So I think that's a
Yeah.
super
Yeah. Yeah.
weird play that they made, personally.
Yeah. I can see, I can see that. I didn't think about it at the time, but
I
yeah.
played a lot with Grixis Death Shadow in Modern before the Lures ban with Bobble and that stuff, so I'm looking at those things a lot as well.
Because here I actually did the play that you said. So would you? And I think I
Well,
probably yeah.
the reason you probably did this is you have to resolve that Mox to even have like a really functional hand, right? Like otherwise your hand's
Hmm.
like kind of bad, honestly. You know.
Hmm. And yeah, surgical on stage. I don't know if that's even something I care about here because
I mean,
I
it kind of sucks, like to be fair, but it's not the end of the world.
yeah
You still have Bloom, get back your Saga. You still have punching
yeah
fire 20 times. You still have like endurance
yeah
beatdown, and like if you,
yeah
I mean, you're not playing Ghost Quarters, so you can't literally do this. But if you had one GQ in your deck, you could kill their basic and kill the rest of their lands and tap them, and they would lose. But
hmm.
it's okay. Like I think it's okay to discard the stage there and just take your loss to that.
And here I think I play into days with my punishing fire. No, because it's a tree.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, there's no
Oh
reason
yeah, it's
punching for
stupid.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just agree. You probably make a construct. Then next turn you evaluate if you want to make another construct. The answer is probably not, honestly.
Hmm. I wonder if I even play endurance here.
I
As I said, I
don't.
didn't really.
The problem in my mind with playing endurance is if you get dazed. Like the reason to play endurance is to play around Murktide, but I think
Yeah.
like the issue is daze. if you know your opponent's the type of player to take days out in this matchup, I think it's good to cast it here. But I don't have enough data on your opponent to say one way or another. I think most people wouldn't side out days if I had to guess.
No, not on the play, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think maybe this was the first of many mistakes in this game. So
yeah, I think I would have just made a construct because it also uses all of your mana and like does something, right? Oh, but I mean, I guess trading with a force is fine. If they force it, that's also fine. And they milled DRC and they pitched a ponder. It's hard to read. It's hard to read too much from that. Except, yeah, I thought it was like that looks 100% like a Murktide. They're just realizing they should cast a second main. Like you should just attack, cast a second main, make a big Murktide, and hope to Wasteland or Maze of Iths or whatever, you know.
Another thing I could have done was to cast Endurance Evoked, and then I could have made a construct.
Yeah, I don't really like that. I think yeah, I don't think I would do that. I think now what you should do is probably just go get Expedition Map and Maze of Ith, probably.
Yeah. I think that's what I did, yeah.
I mean,
there's no.
Yeah, there's not a lot of other plays you can make in this spot, really.
No. Yes, I find Maze of It and then I cast Life from the Loam. Or I hope that's what I do. Well, I could also kill the Dragon Rage channel actually because it's a 1/1.
Yeah, you could.
Yep.
It looks like you're deciding if you want to play the Mox Fishing Grove first.
Yeah, I think.
No, I think this is better. Then you go Mox Fish Grove, crack map, play Maze.
Yeah.
And then at least if you don't have Wasteland, you have a lot of time to like use the loam to get yourself out of this.
Maybe I didn't play horrible. I think I like lose to Meltdown now. I think I don't think I.
The problem is Meltdown's so hard to beat with this hand because you had to like play a double Mox hand, but that's okay. Like I think sometimes that just happens, you know.
Yeah. It's But I think Delver is super interesting now, these games. I think I've been playing it quite a lot after this showcase as well, without choke. And it's just it's a really fun matchup. And it's a lot of like I try to play so that I don't lose to Brazen Borrower.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of my goal for myself, to see if I can find lines. But I still feel that I'm ahead and winning, but then don't just do Merit Lage as soon as I can, because I do think they have answers to it now. More than maybe before.
I think a lot of that is just you have to see how strong your hand is and how strong your position is. Because I think, you know, in my mind, one of the strengths of the depths thing is you can always push the button to see if you win the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a really underrated aspect of the deck. That's why I start 4 and 4, and then sometimes in a lot of post-board games where it's like Jeskai or whatever, I'll go down to like 1, you know. But I like that element of it, especially in game 1, because I think in a lot of matchups in game 1, it's actually super safe to do that. Oh, yeah, this is not great. Okay. So now you need to draw, you know, Command Source.
Land. Yeah. Before they draw Wasteland, I guess.
That's not good.
This is no, and this is also kind of interesting with Delver. Like, I'm not even sure we're favored in the long game against.
I'll give you a hint. There's a lot of reasons why I chose to play Blue Red Delver in a lot of the recent events, especially in paper. I just thought for this showcase the metagame would be so condensed into a metagame where lands would be favorable. And I just played some like matchups that were not very good for the deck, you know.
So yeah, so I guess. Well, I guess I ended up. Okay, yeah.
Okay, well now you're mostly dead. Like you're
Yeah.
actually dead in three. Let's see. No, you're dead in two
Next
attack.
turn.
So that
Yes, I
means,
need to draw land.
well, you need to draw land, and they need to not counter your loam, which is a big ask. Because
Yeah.
obviously, like any person who has a counter spell here just counters it and kills you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. The next game got also, I think, super interesting. So here I kind of want
Okay.
to support.
Yeah.
So well, I guess my reason for this, and I'm not sure if it's correct, but I felt that when I was on the play, I would be more easy to attack their mana, and on the draw, I wanted to be a bit more defensive, and then Bog was maybe better. But
Yeah.
uh,
That I think that's not unreasonable actually, but I think generally I would just play towards a more coherent plan. Period. And also for
yeah,
Schadenports,
yeah,
it's an untapped plan, which is kind of crucial a lot of the time.
yeah. Okay, so this hand is interesting because if that it looked so good first, but then actually misses a few lands, I
I
think.
think this hand is actually not very good personally. I just look at it and I see I see a 5 card hand that's fine, is what I see actually.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's.
I
I
mean
felt like, oh wait, I can do a turn one choke. No, I can't do that
I
actually. And
I
then,
actually
oh wait,
think
I can do.
this hand's a lot better on the draw than it is on the play, for what it's worth.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
because like you just think about it, you're like 60% to draw another land, then you can like try for it, or you can just go mox map up Saga, play it, and that's like actually pretty good. But
yeah,
I think personally I would just mulligan this hand, and like I wouldn't even be really tempted. I just, especially with
yeah,
Meltdown in the mix, like this is like
yeah.
asking for a lot of bad things to happen to you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
kept it because I thought it looked insane, and then I tried to think about how to sequence, and I figured,
so
okay, I
yeah,
should probably not have kept it.
let's just pause for a second. This is actually the same advice
Mm,
I gave a student last night. Before you keep a
mm,
hand, just think about what you're going to do the first few turns, just before
yeah,
you even click the keep button. Oh, like there's a lot of reasons this is a good thing to do. It disguises information. If you do all your thinking during the mulliganing and then play your hand out, it disguises what you were thinking about. And
yeah,
B, if you have a plan in mind and then you realize thinking it through that your plan doesn't work after, even before you mulligan, then you can just mulligan and look for a better plan. You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because it's just I saw choke, fire blast, mox, and I said, okay, wow, I'm gonna crush him. But then, yeah, when I tried to say, how do I actually sequence this? Oh, I don't have enough lands to cast my moxes, and it's a
yeah,
multi 5, as you say. Well, at least it's a multi 6, because one of
yeah.
the
I
moxes
mean,
is dead.
yeah, it's a reasonable hand. I mean, like I think you can do better, especially on the play, because the problem is like I think if you want to play this handout, the actual
Mm,
play would be to play map on one, and then turn to play stage say go, and then map up a saga, and then like it's just kind of glacial. And like it's also like these Moxen are dead, so like are we sure that this was better than like a London Morgan 6? I don't really think so. So like,
but I mean, if I draw land, it's still pretty. Wait,
yeah,
if I draw land, no, I don't. I still don't have 3 mana. I
yeah,
still lose to days.
right.
But okay, so my opponent went to. Did he went to 6? I
That they
think.
went to 5 cards.
Okay. Oh, okay. I did draw a land.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so this is interesting. So now I don't even dare to cast the
the Mox.
joke.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree with that. Yeah, I don't think you have to take any action. I think I would just go get Saga.
yeah, well,
Hold on.
but my plan here is choke, right? So I'm thinking I need to go and
Yeah,
get Tabernacle.
sure.
So
Oh, I see. I see.
because
Mhm.
let me see, does he force a will? Okay, interesting. Okay, so now I know my opponent. So now I need the Pyroblast as well. To
Well,
because I know my opponent has a Force of Will.
yeah, so you probably don't want to like. Well, I don't think you want to Pyroblast it. Also, one good thing they actually did was, I don't know if you noticed this, they bubbled themselves at your end step. And the reason to do that is, if you see the top card is not a spell that flips Delver, you can stack the trigger so Bobble draws you the card, then you look again for Delver.
Yeah.
So, like, your opponent actually played that well, even though, like, the other Bobble thing didn't make any sense. So, kind of high variance in how they're playing with their Mishra's Bobbles, but I think that's a good trick to know if you ever end up playing with Mishra's Bobble, you know?
But what would you do now here, end of turn? Would you just map for Saga?
I
or
think
Dark
so.
Depths even? Maybe even Dark Depths.
I think they're so low on resources, you don't have to take risks to win this game. That I think I would probably just map up the Saga and just say go and see what they do.
Yeah. So here maybe I'm stuck in my idea because I map for Tabernacle. And then I hope if I draw one land I can play Choke and Pyroblast the Force of Will. And just win.
What? So, does let's pause for a second. Does that still beat the Days Force thing?
No, it doesn't beat. No, it doesn't beat. That doesn't beat Days.
Yeah.
I kind of given up on trying to beat Days there.
Okay, so you're giving up on beating Days. I guess that's reasonable to do. So
I think this was a bad play for me because I could easily just die here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, also, like, we don't have a land to discard to the Mox to have that play available. Like, you have to wait another turn to do that, right?
Yeah, I had to hope that I would draw land.
Yeah.
That was, which I guess is like 50% or whatever, but.
Oh no, it's less than that. You cited down to 31, right?
Yeah.
No, wait, sorry. It's
higher than
it's
that.
27. Maybe. Oh, yeah, you're slightly higher. It's like it's 27 over 50 now currently. So, but my issue with this is, and I think it's just a general issue, is that I think you can very easily get outground with them like countering, like suppose they have Days plus Force for your choke, and then like you have no threat, and then they just like use a bunch of cantrips to find more threats or a wasteland. Then I think you're kind of in trouble. Whereas if you got the Saga, it forces them to use their cantrips to find Meltdown, otherwise they risk dying in a race, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would have gotten the Saga, played it this turn, and not played out any of my Moxen.
Yeah. But I could also have killed the Delver then with Pyroblast before they drew the.
I don't hate not doing that because I think you can take a little bit of damage if you're planning to get Saga because the Shadow Spear will get the life back. And I think it's very critical you don't get killed by Murktide. Because I think it's very easy for Murktide to kill you under a Tabernacle, just, pay 1 per turn to deal you like 6 or 7 damage per turn. It's like very, very easy way to win,
I think here did another bad play. So now I played the Tabernacle, but not the Mox. I couldn't even copy Tabernacle.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Okay, now that the... Yeah, I'm still not...
about using.
Yeah, I don't care about this Delver.
Now, I draw... So now these Moxes are 100% dead.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Well, maybe I should have played the Mox there, actually.
No, I actually like not playing the Mox here, because if they ever fetch of... Well... Okay, well, now I'm actually using one of my blasts.
Yeah. And I'm using the Red Blast because if they have Surgical, because I have 2 Power Blast. And so many times I drew the second one and they Surgical in my draw step.
Agreed.
No, I don't even do it now. man.
I think now you should have done
Oh,
it.
I'm copying. I think maybe I'm copying. No, I don't even do that. Oh my god, yeah.
No, yeah,
I think,
Oh, they forces. That's great. You don't care. That's
yeah.
totally fine. Okay,
Oh, that
well,
was a good draw.
now you can also just not even blast it and just play the maze, which
Yeah,
I think is actually
think that's
probably better. I would just, you know, and then I would consider using stage to copy Taiga and step, probably.
yeah, or maze. Tiger or maze?
No, I don't think
No, Tiger.
copying the maze means you're down a mana source essentially. So I don't think that's what you want to do.
Hmm. So now they fetched.
So the stock Delver deck has one island, 4 Volks as steam vents, and you saw them fetch steam vents before, so you know they're pretty on stock.
Yeah.
So that means there's actually no land that they can fetch that's not wastelandable, generally speaking, right there.
Hmm. Okay, so I'm still at the fine life total, so it's kind of.
Yeah. So
I am pretty good here.
I think I would stage the Taiga because if you draw any untapped mana source, even a colorless one, you can play choke with um choke with a power blast back rather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay, great. Now I would just slam and see if they're dead, like personally.
Yeah, I think pretty sure that's what I did. And I lose if they have another force and days.
Yeah,
Well,
but
don't
then
lose, but
then they'll be down to one unknown card, and you have maze plus tab still. So like, I don't think it's really that bad for you.
and 2 wastelands as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get.
Yeah. Well, they're brainstorming first, which means if this choke resolves, they are actually dead.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, choke is very good against Delver.
Yeah,
Like if you can resolve it.
Yeah, the only issue is that it costs 3, and sometimes like you have to not be dying as well for it to be good.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think my opponent has a nice play now. I think they play surgical on my blasts.
Yeah,
Before countering.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that's a nice play, but the reason we split blast is literally this situation.
Yeah. I could also have countered the brainstorm, but I don't think that's.
I don't like that because like they could also just brainstorm looking for another counterspell because they fear Pyro Blast, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason. Well, I guess if they have a force, they might force first, you Pyro, and then they could brainstorm looking for another counter, you know.
Hmm.
But obviously, this surgical on Rev definitely makes sense, and then they're just going to be sad that you have the other one.
Yes, so that's what happened, and then they had a force but no days, so I won. I don't think we have to see all the way to the end. It's kind of that's what happened, and then they started writing in chat, and yeah. But I think that was an interesting match. I didn't make Merit Lage in any games.
No, I think like once you have Saga in the deck, and if you're playing the Shadow Spear thing, I think it's like actually relatively common that you don't need to do that.
Hmm. I did lose to Meltdown. That was the card that.
Yeah, I mean, Meltdown's very good. It's kind of why I was looking for other ways to win versus mid-range decks. I'm not a huge fan of Field of the Dead, but I think it's sometimes okay nowadays, to be fair. I actually think Field is probably the best it's ever been, in my opinion.
My problem with Field is we don't really have any ramp cards. We don't have Valakut or Silver Library. Like, I would play those then as well, maybe.
Yeah, you could play a small. Yeah, I saw the mulch thing. I don't know what to think of it. The actual issue I have with that list when I looked at it was I don't think you actually beat Delver in that configuration, and you definitely don't win the mirrors because there are no crop rotations.
Actually, I lost to it twice.
Did you really? Like it seems like really favorable for you if you're careful. I think what happens is you bog their loam, like you bog their bog, then you bog them every turn, and they don't play crop rotation.
They mulch. So the way I figured I would win is to go for dark depths, crop rotation for dark depths. I kind of when I played against it, I needle wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, they have one Caracas but no crop rotation. So how can they ever? Then I could just port their mace if they had it. But I did that, but both times they had like a monobond trigger. I made the thing, and then they had Caracas.
Oh,
naturally.
That's a little bit unlucky. I think you're actually favoring that matchup. I think by quite a bit. That's just my opinion.
I feel so as well, and I also feel that the deck is misbuilt. You're extremely bad against combo.
Well,
you have no chance to beat combo.
I think their deck also loses to Delver. Actually, the way it's built, there's like not very much removal,
possibly, yeah.
And like they don't have any blasts, and they can't like. I think it's a very weird way to build your deck. If there's only blue control decks, I could see building your deck that way because that deck annihilates blue control. Like, I don't think it's close. I think that's like the best version of the deck versus a blue control deck, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, you will get the same effect if you play 2 mulch. You don't need to play 8. That's at least my experience. I played 2 mulch like a year ago.
I think Winding Way looks... I've played that card in a lot of Modern Horizons 1 draft. I don't think that's a legacy power level card.
Well, then mulch is not either, because Winding Way is better.
Winding Way is better. I don't think either are good, personally. So that's just my opinion.
I think it's a little bit high variance. You sometimes you like draw four lands, and it's insane, but it's not. I don't know what the probability is. Probably 30%, maybe.
It's easy to work out, but I also don't care to work it out because I think that deck doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I have a lot of computations I could do that I need to do for work anyway. So why would I waste?
I mean, yeah. I think my problem is really that I agree. You're probably not. You're not as strong against Delver as you could be.
Yeah.
And you even lose against like Dredge, maybe. Like even like the graveyard decks that are good.
Just not having crop rotation is a huge deal, I think.
Yeah, you can't even find Tabernacle then easily. Like.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, but how much time do we have? Because there are some other interesting games.
I would say maximum I could be around for about another hour. An hour and like 4 minutes.
Okay, so I don't think we need to go over the other Delver because they're kind of the same. I know how to do it. We played Madness. I also think that's pretty.
That matchup is super straightforward. Easy. I think either you get Tabernacle plus or Fast Age or like defend yourself with a bunch of things. I think if you get Tab plus Wasteland, they almost always lose. Is my experience, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Reclaimer is very, very good in the match.
Oh yeah,
it's
of course.
Like a maze of it.
Yeah, their deck has no removal, so Reclaimer's just a slow tutor for things you want.
Yeah, and it's bigger than like all their dumb Madness.
Oh animals. Yep.
So you can just kill them as well, and tutor at the same time.
Right.
So, okay, and then. Well, I mean, this we could go over the depths. Maybe we can start with that one because that is an interesting matchup.
I think that matchup, whoever plays better is favored to win. That's my experience playing both sides of the matchup.
Yeah.
I think it's like super intricate, essentially.
Yeah, so I tested it. Okay, but let me restart recording before I start talking too much. Okay, so I want to show you the depths matchup. So I actually tested this before, and I won all pre-sideboard games and lost all post-sideboard games that I played when it was only 3 games each. Which was kind of interesting, but I think my hand was also really good in the pre-sideboard games and kind of bad in the post. So I don't think. What I did notice was that when they have 4 so big, the thing is, I try to run them over with Saga. That is my plan. And it works really well in pre-sideboard, but post-sideboard when they have Force of Vigor, that can be risky. I don't see how if I can be favored long game against them post-sideboard either, because
Right.
let's see. So I guess here I think I expect. Well, I guess my hand is just insane. So it doesn't really...
this hand's ridiculously good. Obviously, if you draw this hand every round of every tournament, you're going to have like a 70% win rate or whatever, like something really high.
Yeah. So something I noticed when I have these hands, I usually end up losing because my opponent was on like reanimate or something, and I didn't keep green up.
Yeah.
It's extra annoying when you have crop in hand. Yeah, but
yeah. I mean, this person usually plays like depths, so I think you were pretty safe to make this play. And of course, they go after the exploration. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Okay. Probably go. Oh no, probably stage is.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Stage would have been better.
I think so.
Because then if they tap out,
yeah, they die.
I could just.
I agree. I always put them in check there, right there, personally. Obviously, if they have like another white-green source, you just don't go for it. But whatever.
That land is so good.
Yeah, Batstones is one of the reasons I liked the white-green depth deck when I tried it.
Yeah.
So
I played it in lands as well a few times. I think it's
you definitely have to play a lot of reclaimers if you want to play that card.
Yes, you do. Yeah. You can play like a reclaimer in Euro stuff and Field of the Dead. I mean, it's a different build then. I just follow my kind of
Oh, and that's a good draw actually as well.
Yeah,
that's a very good draw. So 1, 2, 3. You're one land short of construct and copy, but you can just copy with the trigger on the stack, and everything's good. So you can port them. Let's see.
You can port them and make a token.
Yeah, that's really really good. I think they're probably gonna like get destroyed this game. It doesn't look close to me.
No. Maybe they cast a Sylvan Library, which is really bad against my hand as well.
I mean, you're gonna kill them real fast, like.
Yeah. I think people get surprised. Like even the guy I played against when I tested, I had a Saga and he had like turn 2 Wasteland, but then tapped for Sylvan Library.
No, I always waste the Saga right there. I know better.
Yeah.
Well, I played a lot of Modern. Like in Modern, Saga also kills very quickly, so I thought everyone just knew by now how fast that card kills.
Yeah.
But I guess there are some people who haven't played a lot against it still.
Yeah.
It's just such an insane card. Like it's kind of hard to explain how insane it is.
Yeah, definitely. I played it without it, and it feels so underpowered to play lands without it now. It's What do I get? Map?
You definitely should get map here, I think. And you can just map up another Saga, actually, if you want to. And just waste their Taiga. Or you can Gloam. This also makes sense, you know?
Yeah, and then play the other Saga. No, I can't. I can do that.
Yeah. No, they're super dead. Like.
Yeah.
I mean. Just looking at the card from Modern, I just immediately was like, yeah, this card's gonna be busted in lands. I think I was one of the first people who was really high on the card.
Yeah, I was not high on it first, but I'm always under it.
But that's because I play with the new cards in different formats. I'm just like this makes perfect sense. Like I was a Tracker supporter for a while. I think Tracker sucks now. Obviously, like you shouldn't even have that card anywhere near your deck. I think, generally speaking, I'm pretty good at identifying new cards that could be good. It's just a question of how you exactly want to implement them. Generally speaking.
Yeah, I think what like. So first of all, something I didn't realize when I read Saga is that it like all the edge cases with it, it's kind of perfect for lands. Like if you could decide how it would work. It always like it's the best. Like you can crop rotate it away and also get the search for an artifact. So it's kind of Like all these things, the same it goes to the graveyard, you can loam it back. Like
Sure, yeah.
all these kind of small things also makes it such a good fit, I think. And then also all these gems that people found, like Tron Foundry, so you can have a 2-turn clock against Doomsday.
Sure.
I think that's huge. An expedition map, Saga map.
Yeah,
that's like
the map thing I knew about from Modern because people were doing that as well. You know, like Amulet, Titan, and other decks like Eldrazi Tron obviously already played Expedition map because like it played Urza's Tower and nonsense like that. But I knew about it, so it made a lot of sense when I saw it pop up. Like obviously I'm not claiming I invent everything about lands. That's ridiculous. But I think I'm more open to trying new cards than a lot of other people are, is what I would say.
Yeah, because also when you started playing Urza Saga, I think like Lance had a stock build. Like I played, and I think my mistake was I played one Urza Saga and it wasn't that good.
Yeah, no, I played 3 for a while. Then Sam Pardee asked me, he was like, this card is probably going to be banned in formats. You should play 4. Like literally, Sam messaged me on Facebook, and like when someone as good as Sam is telling you that you're probably wrong, it behooves you to listen to them.
Yeah.
Anyways, this hand for steps
is bad, isn't it?
It's close, but I think you probably should mulligan. I think you just have a little bit too much acceleration and not enough to do with it.
I mean, if they are going to fetch basics.
Yeah, that's the other problem. And you don't have like, okay, suppose you only draw like, you need to draw like a map or a loam or a saga.
Or saga, yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a saga, this would have been good.
Yeah, it would be very good.
Yeah. Did I keep it? Oh no.
You're thinking about it still.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's a little too many.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally do not keep this hand because I think you get destroyed by basically all of their good draws. Oh, this is awkward.
This also is bad. But I guess this is okay. If I draw a land, this is fine.
Yeah, on 5, I think you keep, and I'm personally shipping that surgical. Yeah,
that's
because it makes sense because surgical is only a card that you need for the really like late game fringe, whatever, right? Like it's not a card. I'm not even sure
I would bring in surgical, but I thought maybe I could get the wasteland with it. Because that's how I usually lose, right? They do go knight.
Yeah.
And then and here, what do I do? Yeah, I do use loam.
I think you just do, and then you just dredge for a saga probably, and then if you find a saga, then you probably stop dredging and look for other things.
How do you feel about Sylvan Library and Legacy?
I think it's not very good, honestly. Like, I think it's a super overrated card.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot more when it was basically invulnerable versus control decks, and now that's just basically not it. That's why I don't really like Valakut Exploration either. Valakut Exploration also has the problem that it's super clunky, and it's not even invulnerable to Prismatic Ending. So it's just like, why? Why do I want this?
Yeah, because they just ending the explorations, and then here I think I end up wasting them. Probably. No, I don't.
No, you shouldn't waste them.
I want to kill the elf, but I can't because
you can't because they can always just waste. Yeah. What you can do is if they tap out, then you can P-fire it, but they're never going to tap out with it. I think what's going to happen in this particular game is they're going to be able to use Sylvan Library plus Reclaimer to see enough cards that you're going to lose to like a bunch of cards, right? Or they're going to get Sylvan Safekeeper or another Reclaimer. Yeah, that's
what they did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're super dead here. Yeah.
Have you ever thought of playing Safekeeper in lands?
I have in the past. I actually registered it for a team Grand Prix, and the reason I did was twofold. A, it's Sword Splashers. B, a lot of Diabolic Edicts were being played, so I just sided it in versus every Diabolic Edict deck back then.
Yeah.
And I just sacrificed a lot of Sylvan Safekeepers to like my Grixis opponent's edicts,
Okay.
and they were just sad.
Yeah, because it feels like it could be. I mean, even now could be good against the Sword Splash.
The issue I have with it is it's not a very high impact sideboard card.
Nice draw.
Yes, sort of. I mean, like, are you wasting first?
Am I wasting? I think I should waste it.
I think you should attack first. See what they do. The problem is if you waste, they get to Reclaimer, right? I think what you're actually supposed to do is just punching fire the Reclaimer first and see what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
didn't even do that.
I think you should just P-fire before even playing your land.
Yeah.
Because what if they want to wasteland that Tabernacle? Now they have the option to do that, right?
Which they did also.
Yeah, I think what I actually would have done was just P-fire second main phase and see what they do.
What I was afraid of is they would use Elf to get Flagstones. Because Flagstones would be incredibly good in this situation. But I guess...
yeah, so they...
doing it this way, they couldn't use Elf to get a Flagstones.
Right.
I mean, but they also had... they also had crop protection.
Had another, okay, so you
and now they get Flagstones, probably. And then they get sack flag.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't even have to do that, yeah. Yeah, so I got out.
Yeah, I basically think the way you played it gave them too many options, essentially. Like, I think you would have probably lost to all that stuff anyways. Like, the crop rotation is super hard to beat there. But the way you played it just meant that they could wasteland the tab if they wanted to, which is, there's no reason to give them that choice.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I kind of let my opponent give them the opportunity to misplay, but I should instead not give them the opportunity to do the right play. That's kind of what you're saying.
Exactly.
A lot of the times here.
I think that's a consistent theme I see with players of around your level is sometimes you can get away with this stuff because you can trick your opponent, but that's not going to work versus the truly elite players who just understand that you've given them an option that shouldn't exist, and then they're going to take that option and like punish you maximally for it, which I think happened right there. Like it's basically Paulo wrote a very long article about how you basically should never do this unless if it's literally like a 1% situation where you can't possibly win unless if they like do a lot of like crazy stuff. I don't think you're at that position yet. Like I think you can definitely win if with a few timely top decks, essentially.
Yeah, I see that. I agree. I see that. Maybe that's also because I'm playing mostly leagues. In leagues, your average opponent will not be a killer. And but you see what I mean? I'm not saying, I'm not justifying. I'm not saying what I'm doing is right, but maybe that's could be part of the reason why I came to this bias. But I agree, it's definitely something I will work on improving because I've done it many times. Only in these games that we've seen, I've kind of thought, okay, how can my opponent mess up instead of thinking what is the best play from.
And this is kind of disastrous. Like now we don't have anything going on. We're probably gonna lose, unfortunately.
The only thing we have is their low life total.
Yeah, but in my experience, it's like not actually that easy to kill them. Like once they have Reclaimer and that going, like they can also just leave the Reclaimer back and not attack you, right?
yeah.
So like I don't think it's like 7. Yeah, like they're at 4 now, but they're not like. Oh,
no, not even.
And they actually feel strong enough in their position that they would rather cash in 4 life for another card, right? Like now things are really bad.
Yeah. things are really bad. So we can. This was also, what did I do? A mulligan to 5, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
And
your hand was sort of fine for 5, but obviously,
yeah. This is
yeah. The writing's on the wall now. It's also they bogged your tab, so it's actually like pretty hard to get out of this board state, right? Like it's basically impossible.
Wait. Crop rotation wins here, doesn't it? I think them casting Ramanap was kind of stupid there because if I drew a crop rotation,
yeah, you could make a Lage, and then all of their lands come to play tapped. They could. Well, no. Well, I see. Okay, maybe this wasn't great for them. Okay, so yeah, I guess they could just wait a turn on that excavator, right, and replay a wasteland from their deck.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably slightly better. Yeah.
I didn't play the stage there because I wanted them to mess up again. So now them out again.
I agree with this. I think that's so unlikely to happen, but I obviously agree with it by this point, right? Like. Okay. Now that's no longer an out. Yeah. Now you're. Now I think you're drawing dead.
Yeah, I am dead. Yeah. So, now we're just super dead. So I think we can fast forward a little bit, but it's just, I managed to tap. I managed to copy a forest. Actually, no, I'm not. Well, yeah, I am, because as long as they don't attack with the elf.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm.
Okay.
All right. So the final game then.
Let's see. We have. Yeah. No, I don't think you change much play versus draw in this matchup, because I think it kind of your good cards are good and your bad cards are bad, essentially. The one thing you could justify is probably having like the Shadow Spear inverse like over like Surgical, I think, personally.
Yeah.
I probably would have the Shadow Spear over the Surgical.
Yeah. I can see. I think Surgical is extremely niche.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you gonna get?
Yeah, exactly. That's my issue with it. Oh, this is interesting. This is a pretty decent hand, but obviously it's like soft to force a bigger. But I also just wouldn't mulligan it, I think.
No. I mean, it's not as soft as it could be to force a bigger, because I can get a land with the elf.
Yeah.
Like, I can get the greens, and they mulligan to 5. Which is
your opponent's going to 5, so like now as long in these scenarios, my philosophy is, okay, how can I reduce variance in the game? Because I think the way you lose these games is to get variance out, essentially. Like, I want to just play a very stable game where all my cards do what they're supposed to do. I play like a normal game for my deck, and then it's like kind of hard to lose those games when you have 7 cards and they have 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, drawing a land's pretty good as well.
Yeah. So what would you do here?
What would I do here? The question is, how do I expect to lose the game more than anything else? So, I guess you could justify needling Wasteland, because that protects your Caracas. Then you could just go use Reclaimer, switch out Taiga for like Urza Saga, and then slowly get that going, and then Loam. Alternatively, you could play your land, play rotation, get Saga, and loam back the lands. I don't really like that play, because I think it's more important to have the rotation in your hand for a key turn where they're not expecting it, is how I would say. Basically, the way I view crop rotation is it's a lot like Counterspell for a single green, so it's actually just valuable to sandbag it until you actually need it. Or you're so far ahead that you can actually kill them with it, you know? So I think personally I would just play Needle, Wasteland, play my land, say go.
Yeah. And then not lose, but be bad against Force or bigger, but that.
Yeah, it's bad, but it's not the end of the world, right? Like.
No.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I can definitely see needling Wasteland would make a lot of
yeah.
sense here.
So like they're
And
on 5 cards. So if they trade 2 of their cards for 2 of your cards, it's not even that bad for you, I think.
no, yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think normally the issue with Force of Vigor is both of you have 7 cards, but they traded 2 cards for 2 of your cards, and some of your cards cost mana, so it's like actually a bad exchange.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think I definitely want to get Ursa Saga. That's
Yeah,
going on in my head here.
I
And
agree. And the reason if you're gonna get Saga, I think you want to Needle Wasteland first, right? Like I think
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense to do that.
my opponent goes.
I mean, they went to 5 cards. They just have a slow hand with the Reclaimer, which is a keep for them. You know.
Yeah. What do I get? Do I end up getting Wasteland here? No. Yeah, I do. Okay,
This
so actually,
okay? Yeah, I don't. I hate this actually. Okay, but you
and I
drew
draw
Saga.
Saga. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't think you can ever like wasteland them productively here. I don't think this like does anything. So
I'm
is your
needling Elf.
well?
That's
So
my plan.
I think now this makes sense. Yeah, but if you hadn't drawn the Saga,
Yeah, it
like
would have
I don't
sucked.
know, like this this is kind of crazy. I think to do. And yeah, they just get
Because
a
now,
Blackstone, so now you can't even wasteland them anyways. Like,
yeah,
doesn't do
yeah, yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think this was, yeah, this was not my finest moment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's
But I
fine.
can't even use my wasteland
And
and or my elf.
so, actually, I think if you were going to needle Elf, there was real merit to just activating your Elf first and then needling it.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
there you go.
I don't really like this either. I mean, like, yeah, you can keep them off mana for a bit, but like, I would have just sandbagged that crop rotation. I think you used it way too aggressively there, essentially.
Yeah, I can see
Like,
that.
what's the rush? Like, you're
To
pretty
make the
far
elf
ahead.
bigger.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I don't think that actually matters. I think if you're gonna win by such a landslide with the Saga tokens that it doesn't matter that you
Mm,
dealt 2 extra damage.
yeah. All right. So okay, interesting. So the
Yeah, I mean they drew the bog, so they have to play it. Otherwise, like if you loan back those 3 lands, it's not great for them. And they're gonna
oh no, they have
Zenith for probably
safekeeper. I think.
Safekeeper, but like that doesn't really matter. I mean, the only
Yeah,
thing I
I'm
was
probably
thinking, well,
yeah.
the one thing I was thinking about was we reclaimed away Caracas, right? At some
Yeah.
point. I was wondering if it was better to do that than reclaiming away the other land, the Taiga in play at that point, but I don't know.
Mm. But well, what I heard is that depths players side out almost all dark depths against lands, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
but they can leave in one. Like you
Yeah,
need
yeah,
protection versus the one. You don't have any mazes in your deck either. And maze isn't even good for safekeeper anyways, so
no, no, no. The Caracas is not that good against safekeeper either.
yeah, agreed. But so like obviously the wasteland's the safest possible, but
Yeah. So now, actually, I don't think tapping there is correct. Well, maybe it is because I can still copy Saga if they
no,
have
yeah.
Wasteland.
I think this is good. Because it shuts off Zenith for Knight of the Reliquary, which I think is the biggest problem.
Oh,
Okay. I mean, that's like not actually a problem
luckily
right
they
now.
no because they don't have Wasteland. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think naming Wasteland with the Pithing Needle would have been a lot better.
I think so too. That was my plan. Like, I guess I told you that was my plan on like turn 1.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I think
because now I was super lucky that they didn't have Wasteland.
Yeah, I think basically if you need a wasteland, you're at free reign to go get the Saga stage thing going at some point, which will basically outgrind everything in a long enough time frame that it's not an issue. And you can also keep your Caracas safe, which means you only have to worry about Sylvan Safekeeper at some point, but you know.
Yeah. I wonder if I even block here because I'm not sure I thought about the safe. No, okay, they did it.
Yep.
Preemptively, yeah.
I think for them, it's correct to try to force through damage because what they want to do is introduce like variance into the game when they're on so low resources and try to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think it's actually good that they did that from their side. Okay.
Yeah.
I would recommend never playing that. And
yeah,
I am
especially
sure,
on their stage.
Yeah, I know you know that, but just like a lot of people just habitually play this out and like it causes them to like either lose or make a game very hard for no reason is how I would put it.
yeah. But I think this is a super interesting matchup.
Yeah. Like I said, I
There's
think
a lot of things going on.
well, both of you have a lot of tutors and there's a bunch of hidden information. And the decks are not exactly mirrored. Like there are differences in the deck construction. Like that's why it plays out a little bit asymmetrically. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, we're loaming. That makes sense. And you know the bog's in play, so it's like not that easy for them to get your loam currently.
Well, no, they can because they can sack bog, safekeeper, and replay.
Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind.
But I think they just
I mean
it's force a vigor or bust for them because
they're at 10, so they need to draw off this turn. And like you got the Saga back, that's all you care about, right? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which deck do you think is best? Lands or Depths?
They have different strengths and weaknesses. I think actually white green Depths is better versus blue red than Lance's, and I think it's mostly because Knight, Proclaimer, and the white removal make it so that's better for the matchup. And it depends on the sideboard construction of the white green deck. I think generally it struggles a lot. Like, suppose someone has like Supreme Verdict in their deck. I don't think the white green deck really wants to play the versus style of decks. Like Jeskai Hullbreacher, I heard is like a horrific matchup for them.
Yeah, that's pretty good for lands.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
If we have ports and spirit.
Yeah.
And I also think combo, like spell-based combo, we have
Well,
a shot.
they could play like Gaddock, Teague, and Thalia if they wanted to. They chose not to. I think they just chose to concede the matchup, which I think is also super reasonable, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at my matches here, it was one. I played against Doomsday once, and I even lost. So even though I had like 15 sideboard cards almost.
Yeah, no, I mean, that can happen, of course. Anyways, it looks like this one's probably a wrap because you make
it is.
You make another token, you copy it, it ticks up, and then like they're eventually dead to the pack rat.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so but boom, I'm stopping recording. I don't think we need to do another one, but so maybe some key takeaways. So one, I should not underestimate my opponent. That was
I think generally speaking, if you really think about it, you will win more if you assume your opponent's good because you will try to like figure out a coherent story based on their plays. I like to say that games tell a story, and usually the story makes sense. Of course, there are times where like it's very clear your opponent is just doing things at random and it doesn't make any sense. Then like those games that doesn't apply. But generally, you can derive information that's important, and that's going to lead to some games being won where you might otherwise lose because you didn't like try to think through why they were doing things. You know.
Yeah, I think that's good advice because so that's kind of a strategic advice.
Yep.
And then in terms of gameplay, I mean, as I said, I know how to play lands. I've now done it 1,000 times, so it's not like. But my problem is a lot of the times that I don't think. I don't stop up and think. Like a few examples that we've already seen today that that I should, like the port thing. Like I can see that line if I just or maybe, I mean, sometimes of course you can miss lines as well, but it's sort of a lot of the time I kind of something changes, like I drew a mox.
Right.
And I just don't adopt or
there was a methodology called OODA, I believe is what it's called. Just Google OODA loop. It's a military term from the U.S. Air Force, but it sort of talks about how to try to reevaluate continuously. Just read about it. But I think generally, OODA loop military. Yeah. So that's like something you can try to like read about and try to incorporate. But really, the short version of that is that you should really if you're unsure or if you want to force yourself to rethink, what you should do is just talk about it out loud for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And just make a note of it. Just don't just autopilot. I think that's probably your real issue, because I know for me personally, it is pretty easy to go on autopilot. But if I talk to it, if I talk it out loud, I'm way less likely to do so.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I think that's a good advice as well. Okay, cool. But yeah, I think this was been super helpful, especially that thing to underestimate my opponent, because I didn't think about it at all that I did that. I mean, it's, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and I can definitely see that's. I mean, already here we looked at like three matches and did it many times. Like we're just doing stupid plays because the way I like playing into days with the Mogs, and it's kind of like if they had days there, I would be in a bad spot. So it's not really like not really. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah. I think that. I mean, because if you play against a good opponent, yes, as you said, if it's in their interest to do that risky play, they will do it then. Maybe Omega punish me or.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's good advice as well. Okay, but I guess you have to run.
I have like 15 more minutes if you want. If there's anything else you want to discuss.
No, I think so. I mean, the next kind of thing, if we were to have another session, I think the next thing that would probably be to test some matchup then.
Yeah. That sounds good. If you want to schedule something else, we can discuss it.
Because one, for example, is 8-cast. I haven't played against that a lot.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
that's something I would really like to.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of people don't play that deck because it's expensive to build the deck right now as well, due to various economic concerns, is how I would put it. Yeah, I could probably make that happen at some point. Generally Friday around this time is okay for me, and Saturday early morning is actually pretty good for me, generally speaking. Like, so Saturday afternoon your time or whatever.
Okay, that could also work.
Yeah. So we can discuss it later, of course. Just let me know. I can figure out a reasonable list of a deck and learn it myself. I'm pretty good at learning decks quickly because I have a huge knowledge base. I played a ton of matches of a lot of formats over the years, so there's usually some other deck that's related to almost every deck, generally speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I guess 8-cast is a little bit unique. Well,
no, I mean, like, I think it's just like an affinity deck that happens to have Chalice and Soul Lands in it. Like that's so it doesn't even play like the hard to play cards like Arcbound Ravager. That card's really hard to play with if you've ever played with it.
Yeah.
Like because you actually have to make all of these decisions about like, do I want to go all in or not? It has like the stage depth thing going on, but it's just for an incremental amount of damage instead of like literally killing your opponent in one shot. So
yeah.
um
Yeah. Okay, but let's talk on Discord then.
yeah.
But I think this was super helpful. So thank you so much for your time. And we'll sort out the details. You just write to me how much I should pay you, and I transfer it over. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Have a good evening, man.
Yep. You too. Yeah. It's yeah. I have to go see some people in about an hour, so I'm gonna just hop off real quick, get things ready, and then head out. So yep. We can talk later, and I'll let you know. You have no issues with PayPal, you said, right?
No, I shouldn't have that now. I tried it before, so.
Okay. All right.
Fine.
Yep. Good to talk to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.